So last week, Feel Good Friday, I kind of fucked up. All right, guys, I made it a not so feel good Friday last week. There was a lot of
bummer Friday.
it was bummer Friday.
I honestly would say it's probably more often than not a bummer Friday.
No, usually we have a couple things that are kind of silly, but like last week was just like all bummers. It was just like, we've got 8 billion folks on the planet, plants dying, but also our sperm count plummeting. Like we're fucked. That was pretty much last week if you missed it. So this week I decided to change it up. I've got some really fun Feel Good Friday content and some pretty interesting stuff too. Let's start with this one.
Okay.
A woman was stopped at an airport while she was wearing a butt plug containing her boyfriend's ashes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, well.
That's got to be crossing some legal lines for sure.
Well,
also,
I don't know.
Well,
I mean, wait, what? Hold on. What legal lines do you think that's crossing?
The
know, ashes part?
I don't know. I feel like there's laws. I don't know what they are. I feel like there's laws around like transportation of remains.
No. Ashes have to
be
fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because that's like, you can carry those around in your purse.
Yeah,
like if it's your grandma.
Yeah.
But right. The thing that I think
purse,
immediately.
Butthole, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the butthole is a purse for some.
But the thing.
That's exactly right.
This was her butt plug purse.
Yeah.
The thing that is immediately a red flag for me or
what do you put in your butt purse?
Ashes as well. But the thing that's immediately a red flag for me is or cause for alarm for airport security is the fact that ashes can look like cocaine or like
bomb dust.
Yeah, like if you're putting it in your butt plug to go, it's like you can do that 99% of the time in your day-to-day life and never have a problem. Going through airport security is the one time where it's going to be an issue.
Now let me throw this option at you. Okay, it was years ago. We did a live show in Vancouver, and we covered the company that makes a vibrator that you can place your loved one's ashes in the vibrator. It comes with a nice little carrying case. Very elegant looking.
It was beautiful.
Very beautiful setup. Do you think that it's the same as the butt plug ashes? Like if you had your backpack, your wheelie suitcase, and you had just a little because that little case that held the vibrator was like a little sort of it was like a miniature briefcase. So like if you brought that through security, you think that's more chill?
You're probably fine, but you're probably better off to check it. You'll be okay. Though they might, but like my biggest frustration when going through airport security is when they take your bag.
Are you sure it's your biggest? Because like you've got a lot. Because when we travel with you, Brian, every 5 minutes you're fucking going off on something,
dude. Any customer service support person with Brian?
Couldn't get a credit card for fucking 4 years because Brian just reamed out the guy on the fucking phone.
Brian just yells at anybody that's on support
because it's poor customer service and it's really frustrating. But my biggest pet peeve in the airport is when you know that your bag is fine and they see something on the X-ray and they pull it through
and they won't just take your word for it.
No, I know, I understand that. But when they're like, "Oh, it was your sunglasses. Oh, it was your headphones," because like, don't you know? Like, aren't you trained to know?
No, that, dude, no, they're not trained to know anything.
Yeah,
they're not trained to know anything.
Yeah, it's a total scam.
I think the issue. I think the difference with
I walked onto a flight once with a fucking firework in my pocket
by accident.
I didn't mean to. I sat down on the plane and put my hands in my hoodie pocket and went, oh, I'm literally carrying a piece of dynamite.
I flew with weed many times by accident before it was legal across the U.S. border.
Oof. Whoa.
And didn't realize until much later in the future.
This is a comedy podcast. That was a joke. So let me get to the story. Sarah,
I've also been arrested at the border for weed. Not when I.
Man, don't say that. Don't say that because you're gonna red flag yourself. And we'll never be allowed back down.
Same.
We were together.
Sarah Button. She was 23. She went viral on TikTok for wearing a metal butt plug with "Forever" engraved on it. Here's a picture of the beautiful plug.
It's fucking metal, dude.
It's a metal butt plug. Yeah, I mean, you knew that was going to get caught right away, right?
Of course.
Yeah, that was the issue. It wasn't the remains. It was how metal it was.
But even if she had a silicone butt plug in, if she went through the full body scanner,
Yeah.
then they would have found something in her butt, right? So it's like, ma'am, turn around, like there's something in your skirt. And then they're like, there's nothing in your skirt. What's in your, like, there's something in your ass. We got to check your ass.
I'm saying this not like I'm being dead serious. Do you think that this could be like a kink? Like being caught in public? With
No. So let me get to the story here.
Wearing a butt plug in public is a kink, I would imagine, right?
I wouldn't know. I mean, I wouldn't. I would say
Not
it's kinky. I
necessarily,
would say it's kinky, but I wouldn't call it I wouldn't necessarily call it a kink. I mean,
for some people it could be, but some people could do it and it would be kinky, but it wouldn't be a kink.
Yeah, like the other day I saw a dude wearing a cock ring in the steam room at the gym.
You know,
I don't think that's a kink. I think that guy was just like
signaling
a bit kinky and being like, "Yo, yes," it was a signal for like, "Hey,
it was the bat.
If you like what you see, give me a high five."
He was just throwing it up in the clouds.
That's right.
See who responds.
Yeah, and I looked. I was looking,
and he asked you.
He didn't, but he looked at me looking. I just thought it was fascinating. I mean, very, very beautiful cock. So while going through customs, she was a law student. She wore the toy as a way of traveling with her late partner as she hoped to show him the world. This is actually a really beautiful story. Button, who's from Australia, was bought the toy as a gag gift by her boyfriend.
Is she like in the new Legally Blonde? Her name is Button.
Yeah, her name is Sarah Button.
Her last name. Her last name. I thought her first name was Button. No. I was like, oh my god, this is hilarious.
So, the butt plug obviously raised a few eyebrows with the airport staff. Sarah told NeedToKnow.online, quote, "We were initially concerned about getting it through in my carry-on, so I left it in within hopes to avoid explanations. It was a bit nerve-wracking, but I had previously gone through security with a normal butt plug in without incident, so I had a sense of calm and faith that we'd both make it through." She's referring to her late partner. She said, "I would pack him in the checked luggage if I were to take the urn overseas with me. I didn't make the sensor beep or anything, and the friend I was with was well aware. The plug was gifted to me before the passing of my ex-boyfriend that I had as a teenager." So they weren't. This was her ex. He was dying. They hadn't been together for a long time.
Oh.
And he was like, "Hey, I'm dying. Here's a butt plug that you can keep my ashes in."
Wait, are you sure? It sounded more like she got the butt plug as a teenager and then had a partner. Then the partner died and she was like, "I'll put him in my old butt plug."
No, as a gag, as he was dying, he made a butt plug engraved forever for her to keep his ashes in.
But they hadn't been together for a long time.
This was her like high school sweetheart.
Oh my.
I have so many logistical questions.
Hold on. I need to get this quote out.
Okay.
She said, this is the best quote in the whole fucking article. She said, "The intention was initially a joke because he'd spent so much time in there and it was his favorite place."
Oh my God.
And it was his favorite place.
But my question logistically is that like, so he bought this butt plug before and gave it to her.
I don't give a shit.
And then so he gave this to her, but then he was still alive. So then she had to procure his ashes from the family.
Yeah. So he had his ashes. I think he had some of his ashes given to her.
Yeah, like
he would just put that in his,
I don't think he would have said. I mean,
directive.
maybe, I don't know. These guys seem very funny. So like maybe he was like, "Hey Ma, when I die, I need you to give Sarah like a handful of my ashes because I'm gonna get her to put it in a butt plug because that was my favorite place. Okay, Mom?" And Mom was probably like, "All right, mate." Like,
I mean, for
No.
sure,
No.
for sure, she knows now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Don't do that.
She wrote in the TikTok video uploaded September 9th, "Seeing if the plug emoji I wear carrying his ashes will get through airport security," adding, "He's still here. It's romantic." She captioned the video seen by more than 5 million people. Sarah didn't have too much luck when she visited Abu Dhabi airport in the UAE in 2019.
Bet they weren't fans.
Only to be ended up banned from the Gulf.
Yeah, no doubt.
I explained what it was, but there was a lady worker in earshot of that conversation, which led to some back and forth between us and the male officials. They did not like the vulgarity I was using to explain, she said. They took me and my friend aside without much explanation. Sarah claimed her passport and mobile phone were taken away, forcing her to call her dad to ring the Australian embassy in Abu Dhabi for help. An hour later, a big official came and had us sign a super long foreign document that said if we went outside of the airport doors, we'd go to jail. It was a long day, she said. Moral of the story is I was very ignorant of what I had in my bag and the words I used / their values. And I didn't realize explaining a plug would like violate the person that asked about it. Sarah has since traveled to places she and her ex-boyfriend only ever dreamed of going, such as the Great Barrier Reef, and are set to see the British rock band Bring Me the Horizon in December.
In the UAE, did she have it in or was it just in her bag?
I think she had it in. I think she's been just wearing that plug. As soon as she put it in, she was like, I'm never taking it out.
Brad, do you think...
She's been plugged up for months.
Brad lived in the I'm sure people listening, a lot of people listening know this. Brad lived in the UAE for 5 years. If it had just been in her bag, do you think they would have taken... Do you think they would have banned... They would have not let her in?
No.
I don't think so. I think it would have been... Probably would have been fine. I think it was the way that she was speaking that put them off. I think that if she would have explained herself in a more like I'm imagining she was saying that the vulgarity in which she was describing it, that was what was violating the people there. I mean, from their perception culturally. So I would say it probably would have been okay and the situation could have been de-escalated. I just assume that she probably escalated.
She probably said like
based on what she's saying.
I rammed him up my ass to take him to the places he wants to be. This is his favorite place. Would you like to join him or something? And
that would have been a huge no-no.
Yeah, and they were like, "Well, you're arrested."
I'm curious. Do you guys think that her current boyfriend is jealous or feels weird?
We don't know if she has a current boyfriend. Maybe she's single.
But she mentioned that
she was traveling with a buddy.
So, but did she not say that she had another boyfriend?
Can you travel with somebody and not have sex with them?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we've traveled together. We've never fucked.
Close though.
Yeah. So anyway, that was I figured that would be a great way to kick off this week. We're always talking about cool ways. We just recently talked about cool ways, the cool things you can do with your loved one's ashes or even your pet's ashes. And this butt plug one, that's a new one for me. I kind of like it.
It's feel good.
You know, I've never worn a butt plug.
Would you?
But if I had a butt plug with like Kira's ashes in it, I'd probably think about putting it up there. What else am I mean, it's either that or wear it as like a sick like necklace pendant.
Does Kira listen to the show? Like
she
regularly?
does, yeah.
Okay, we'll clock it.
So does her mother.
Okay.
Oh shit.
So I'm very sorry that Miss McDonald, I'm so sorry.
Guys, for me, it would really depend on the size of the butt plug. Like if Jared, if you gifted Taylor and I your ashes.
Again, folks, you can watch the episode over on YouTube. You can see the butt plug right now. It's a fairly like sizable, but it's like an average butt
typical.
plug.
That one is intimidating for my butt.
I don't have very much experience with butt plugs, but
all butt plugs would be intimidating for me.
Yeah, I mean, but if it was like half the size of that, then I would be more inclined to test it out.
Even half the size of that, I'd have to like do some real intense breath work.
I mean, is like not anything gonna be intimidating. I mean, like you don't put stuff up your ass, as far as I know.
Tip of a finger.
As far as I know.
Tip of a finger is not crazy.
I'm just wondering, is it like ear gauges? You know, like so you got to work your way up to a certain gauge.
Well, I think you do. I think that is true, right?
Yeah,
that's true.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, like you could probably work your way up in one sesh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially, it's not a permanent stretch.
No.
It's a session stretch.
It's like a give me an hour and a half of slow work and lots of lube, and we can get anything in there.
Right.
Wow.
We just transitioned to turn me on.
Clock it.
All right, moving on. Hey, this is fucking real exciting news. It was maybe about a year ago around this time. We had Caden tonight and his father surprise join us on a Feel Good Friday episode. And the reason we had them on, Caden and his father both have dwarfism, an extremely rare case of dwarfism. And we had them on to discuss the news that the ESA, the European Space Agency, had opened up applications for new astronauts. But the application was a little bit different this time in that they were now accepting people with disabilities to apply. A year later, the first disabled astronaut has joined the ESA astronaut program. A British man has been chosen for astronaut training by Europe's Space Agency, who the man is disabled. It's the world's first. His name is John McFall. He's 41. He joined 16 men and women selected for the ESA's first new class of astronauts in 13 years. His right leg was amputated after a motorcycle crash when he was 19. He became a professional athlete and represented Team GB at the Paralympics. You can see a photo of him right here, running. He's the guy on the left there. Another British woman, Rosemary Coogan, was selected as a career astronaut. ESA said it wanted to widen the definition of what it means to have the right stuff to go into space. This announcement does not mean McFall is guaranteed to go to orbit. Instead, he will be a part of a feasibility program to see what the requirements would be for that to be possible, which I think is like kind of common for most astronauts anyway. It's like you get signed on to be an astronaut. You're not guaranteed to go to space.
I think there's not lots of astronauts, but I think that it's not uncommon to be an astronaut and never get to like.
I'd say
do a spacewalk.
Actually, would say lots. It's like when Canada selects an astronaut, typically they'll select 2, and one gets to go to space and one might not. So it's like half the astronauts likely won't get up to space.
Yeah, that's
that
wild.
Get selected.
But are you an astronaut if you don't actually get to space?
Wow, that's an interesting question.
Technically, I don't think you are, but you're still in an astronaut program.
Yes,
you're still a trained astronaut. You're just not officially an astronaut until you go into the Lord's orbit or whatever.
Sounded like you said go into the Lord's orbit.
It did sound like
you
you
go to
said
the Lord's orbit.
Brian, I just wanted to say, those pants are so functional.
They're super functional. Yeah,
They've got. Are those zippers on the knees? Do they have zippers, or are those just patches?
These are patches, and you can put knee pads underneath them, they unzip on the side for some like
airflow,
ventilation.
Cool. What time are you dropping into the AO?
I don't know. What time should we drop it?
Dude, look at that cargo. Those cargo pockets on the thighs.
These are my expedition pants.
They are sick. I really quite like those.
It's functional.
So McFall, who won a bronze medal at the Paralympic Games in 2008 in the T42 100 meters, said what's T42? That sounds like a fucking Terminator.
I think it's a classification of
robot.
No, because depending on the disability that you have, or like the amputation, or like the severity of your amputation, there's like different classes of events.
Oh yeah.
So it's not just like there's a 100 meter and everybody competes in it. It's right. There's like different 100 meters depending on the classification of your
disability,
whatever your disability is. So
right. Yeah. So this is really cool. He told the BBC that he had not previously considered becoming an astronaut, but felt
until listening to Sick Boy podcast.
That's right.
Talk about
he specifically quoted us. But he felt compelled to apply when he saw the opportunity from Sick Boy Podcast. When ESA announced that they were looking for candidates with a physical disability to run this astronaut feasibility project, I looked at the person specification and it just kind of jumped out at me, he said. I felt so inspired by it, I felt compelled to apply. ESA will be working with NASA on the feasibility study. They need to establish first that a para-astronaut's inclusion wouldn't compromise crew safety. It's also possible the space vehicles in which they travel will need adaptations. Quote, it's really important for us to involve everybody that has an excitement about space, said Dr. David Parker, ESA's director of human and robotic space exploration. So that's pretty cool. Like isn't that crazy? Like, isn't that a crazy thought? You're a Paralympic athlete. You know, let's say he did that back in the 2000s, early 2000s. And, you know, I don't know, let's say now he's working as like a
physicist or something. That's most likely what he's up to.
I doubt it. I doubt that. I bet you he's working just like a fucking mundane job. Like,
no, he's probably a doctor or a scientist or something like that.
What's his name?
So no, not almost certainly. So
really?
No, yeah.
So pilot? Nope. I guess he wouldn't be a pilot.
No, not even. So
what was his name again?
His name was John McFall. So with astronauts, they're you don't have to be a scientist. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be anything specific to apply. There was a woman who applied to be either a Canadian astronaut or an American astronaut, and she was just a soccer player. You just have to pass the test. So like, you know, you have to have a certain amount of like IQ that, you know, you have to be physically you have to be capable.
He's a doctor.
Oh, he's a doctor. Okay, cool. Yeah,
I think it's. But I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you that it's open. But I mean, I think the vast majority of astronauts are pilots, doctors, scientists.
So when I spent time with Chris Hadfield and David St. Jacques, I was asking them this, and they were saying, if you're a doctor, great. Like, we're always looking for doctors. If you're a chemist, great. That's a valuable thing to have up there. But they were like, if you're
podcaster.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. Like
If you have an ability to make very good conversation in very small spaces.
Yes. Basically, they were like, if you're an athlete and you are a clear leader, that's just as valuable to us as a scientist.
Mm-hmm.
It says, just for context too, he did his bachelor degree in 2004. He studied exercise science, and then I imagine then he had his athletic career after that. And then 10 years later, in 2014, he graduated with a Bachelor of Medicine, and now is a trauma and orthopedic specialist and surgeon.
Cool. Sweet.
Yeah.
So yeah, congratulations to John. Very fucking cool. Would love to see in like 3 years some video of him fucking strapping onto a Soyuz and going
Guys,
to the ISS.
we should have him on the podcast because he also worked as
He won't go to Soyuz. He'll go on a fucking Falcon 9 or something because they're flying from the U.S. now.
I suppose. Yeah, I suppose you're right.
He did.
Could still go from a Soyuz though.
He worked as a nursing assistant at the Marie Curie Hospice Care Center.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. I like this guy more and more.
Yeah, he's
Let's
sweet.
talk to him.
I'll reach out. We'll see what we can do. Let's move on. Another fascinating story. We've been doing a lot of like birth stuff ever since you popped a baby out of your womb, Taylor.
Guys, Zay is like crawling around.
Dude,
and
she is so chatty.
she's so chatty now.
She's kind of like my dog.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I always think of.
I mean, I can understand her as much as I can understand Rupert.
Yeah.
Yeah, me
It was like, that's all I heard last night. And then Kyle in the background go like right back at her, and then you'll chime in and go. You guys are just a fucking bunch of aliens in a condo talking to each other. So this is fucking crazy. This came to my attention from an image that I saw on Reddit. It was just an image. Did a little bit more digging, and this is the article that goes along with this. So they took an artificial womb, and they were keeping premature lambs alive for weeks in this artificial womb. And the hope is that humans could be the next thing that we utilize for these artificial wombs. So I'll play this video while we go through this. But
I don't know, dude. Sounds like the Matrix.
you can see it here. Here's the baby lamb.
Whoa.
It's like a lamb that still is in utero. Like it hasn't been born yet.
Whoa.
So an artificial womb that could someday sustain extremely prematurely born infants has managed to keep baby sheep alive for weeks, for 4 weeks specifically. The womb, called a biobag, got to change that name, is a plastic bag filled with fluid to mimic the conditions inside of a uterus.
Knapsack.
A bio knapsack. A baby born too early could spend a few weeks in the bag, where the tubes from their umbilical cord to an external device could provide oxygen to their blood. After that, the baby would be taken out of the bag and hooked up to a mechanical ventilator, which would help them breathe until they develop sufficiently to breathe on their own. The technology could someday better support infants born in the middle of the second trimester, as early as 22 or 23 weeks into the pregnancy.
Wow, that's super fucking early.
Currently, babies born so early have a very low chance of survival, about 50%. And the devices that keep
it's even that good.
Well, here's the hard part. The devices that keep them alive can also cause severe and permanent damage. So Dr. Alan Flake, a pediatric and fetal surgeon at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, tested different versions of the bio knapsack on prematurely born lambs, and the results of which are described in this week in Nature Communications. In the most advanced version of the device, lambs couldn't live on their own outside of their mother. Lambs that couldn't live on their own outside of their mother survived for up to 4 weeks in the bags. And after they were delivered, their lungs functioned well, similar to normal lambs of that age.
So the lambs survived.
Yes.
Wow.
Right now, the prospects for extremely premature babies are grim. The best available treatment for babies born with underdeveloped lungs is to put them on a ventilator, a mechanical device that pushes oxygen into the lungs. But those are far from ideal. Quote, we know that even a few hours of that damages the lungs of a 24-week infant. Our hands are tied because in the absence of that, the baby would die. So we accept some lung damage to keep the baby alive.
Whoa.
By contrast, environments that imitate the inside of a uterus continue delivering oxygen to the fetus via the umbilical cord or directly into the arteries, which could avoid the lung damage. But challenges have been numerous. It's difficult to stick tubes into the umbilical cord because they shrink when they're exposed to oxygen or if they're perturbed at all.
So the cord.
Yes. So artificial uteri can also easily become contaminated with infections, and the fetal heart is weak and sometimes can't handle artificial pumping of blood. So they're hoping that this...
Dude, you know the like a baby's heart rate? I'm not sure what it is now, like now that Zaya's like 8 months or something like that, but when she was in utero, it's like 140 the whole time.
Whoa.
Their heart rate.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, that's like my resting heart rate. Yeah, so the
No,
biobags, the biobags are there's a hope that this could work, but whether such approach would work for human infants and whether parents would accept it remains an open question. You know, like some wonder whether the optics of a baby in a bag might scare off parents. It's like you're baby.
Well, fuck, I mean,
like if it works,
I know.
then-
That's the. But again, you've got the like cultural aspects there, the religious aspects of people just, I'm sure there's lots of people out there that even if it did work, they would go, no fucking way. There's no fucking
But I
way
mean,
that
that's
my
their
baby would
choice.
die.
For those people, if
Yeah.
they don't want to do that, then
I've got this is totally adjacent and not directly related to this, but something that on the topic of like, if it works, then do it sort of thing. Zaya had her, I've told you guys this, she had her tongue, she had like a tongue tie and a lip tie, and it was like fairly mild, and it was like, it seemed like it was up in the air whether we should do something about it or
Why
we
does that
shouldn't.
sound so cute? A little lip tie on a baby. That's a tongue tie on a baby.
Yeah.
Oh, she tongue tie.
So we got it. So we did get a procedure done where they do like a little laser, and they snip the frenulums with a laser. And then there's
That's what you guys need to do with your dicks.
yeah, that's right.
mine's actually fine.
I should have just stuck it in the laser while they were
You're
doing
like, yo, I got some like tearing. Can you just do
it's
that?
very
on my...
subtle.
I think I could have used a lip and tongue tie though when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Is that why
Yeah.
you talk so fucked?
Yeah.
You don't talk fucked.
No, but like I
You
have like a
tiny
little bit
S-
of
you
a
have
lisp.
I mean, it's.
I went to speech therapy when
I
I
would
was
never
a kid.
notice it unless
Did you
said
really? You
something.
went
Yeah.
to speech therapy?
Yeah, like
Really?
through school. Like I've talked about this on the podcast briefly before, but I went to it. Like they pulled me out of class and took me to this room, and I didn't really understand why I was going because
You had a helper.
like so that's what in my head I was like,
Sure, I had a
am I
helper.
going?
I had a helper.
my-
There's no shame in helpers.
But in my in my head, because it was probably grade 2 when this happened.
Yeah.
And I knew that there were kids going to resource and
Yeah.
with
Mhm.
helpers, and then all of a sudden I was being pulled out and going into a room, and they were making me say, "She sells seashells by the sea." I'm not joking, like
wow.
dead serious. They were making me say,
How now,
Yeah.
brown cow?
Yeah.
but it was all S's. It was
Yeah, right,
she
right.
sell. And
Yeah, because it
Yeah.
can develop depending on the shape of it and everything. It can fuck up different sounds and stuff.
Sorry. Let me come back. Like, let me remember to come back to my helper.
Okay. And so the thing that I'm running up against is that once you get the procedure done, you have to do these stretches where you basically have to take her lip and flip it up to like her upper lip and flip it up towards her nose to stretch out the frenulum that connects the top of the gum like this.
yeah,
You
right.
have to do that. And then you have to take your index finger and rub it along the frenulum
Ew.
to try and like break down any tissue that's forming, that's trying to close it back off. And then you have to do the same thing under the tongue. You have to put 2 index fingers under her tongue and then push her tongue up towards the roof of her mouth to stretch the underneath the tongue. And then do the same thing with the index finger on her tongue, like rub the frenulum to try and break down any tissue that's forming.
Dude, if you were sticking your fingers in my mouth like that, I'd be fucking traumatized.
Okay, well, she fucking hates it.
yeah.
And okay, so this is my problem. She hates it. It's torture for her. Now, when we were told to do it, I was like, okay, if it needs to be done, then it needs to be done.
How frequently are you doing it?
You have to do it every 6 hours,
Okay.
including overnight.
Whoa.
So, so I was like, okay, well, if it's helping long term, then I'm fine with that, and I can mentally get over the hump of her crying. I hate it, but I can get over it because I know that it's doing something positive long term. Now, apparently, doctors are going, don't do them because it doesn't reattach, or reattachment is 4%.
Wait, they made that decision like that news came out days after
No,
you did
No, you're saying
no.
don't do the stretches and exercises.
Oh.
Don't,
because,
yes, right. Don't do the
sorry,
stretches and
sorry,
exercises
sorry.
because they say reattachment happens in 4% of
But
procedures.
they're making 100% of people do those stretches.
And doing the stretches reduces it from 4% to 2%.
oh,
What
So-
happens if it never like reattaches? Does that change anything?
you
Does
don't want it to
No, you don't
reattach.
want it to
Yeah.
reattach.
You don't want the frenulum to reattach at
No.
all.
No, because
No.
then you're tongue tied.
Right.
But I,
Or
had,
lip-
but like
They're
Like-
cutting it to make it smaller. You still have a frenulum. It's
Oh, you
just
still- okay, okay.
It's not as long,
I
so it
got
doesn't
you.
restrict your
I
movement.
got you.
So I'm going. So now I'm going. What the fuck? Am I torturing this child
Yeah.
for a 4% chance of her getting this reattachment? I'm going to torture her for 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks of doing that every 6 hours, and now her crying is affecting me mentally in a way different way. Because now that I'm not sure that I'm helping her, it's like destroying me.
You're
And-
realizing that you're a bad parent.
Yeah, right. And Kyla can't do it. Like Kyla can't handle it at all. So I have to do it every time. And it's really fucking with me.
Yeah.
And now I'm pretty pissed because I'm like, because now some dentists who do it, some dentists do the procedure and some doctors do the procedure. So dentists are going, you have to do it. And doctors are going, you don't have to do it. And I'm like, okay, so are you basing this on research, or are you basing this on, oh, you've seen people have a reattachment and you are making some anecdotal correlation between the fact that they might have not done exercises. Like, are you seeing any of the people who had it, who didn't do the exercises or didn't do the stretches afterwards and it didn't reattach? Like, are you just anecdotally sampling?
Yeah.
Like,
You should ask
the
your
population?
Did you ask your doctor about it?
I have to go ask our doctor now because like this is new information, and
I
it's
have a
really,
question
It's just really fucking
because
with
I
me.
know coming off the back of the conversation that we had with Gabor Mate, I know that that's also playing in your mind in the
Totally.
sense that like,
Yeah.
my baby is crying. Do I do this because
and it's because of
gonna
me. Like they're
Right.
crying because I'm doing something to her.
right? And
You're
so
gonna fuck up her attachment styles. She's gonna be insecure.
I mean, like it's
insecure avoidant.
I'm,
I mean, maybe
Because
like
her
that is
daddy
a
was pushing on her fucking frenulum.
yeah.
but do you think that 6 weeks? I'm curious, like in 6 weeks, like how much of an effect does that have? Like, is this a formative time for the child where like in 6 weeks you can
Well, think about
fuck
it
her
this
up by
way.
doing that?
Think
How
about it-
old is she?
Think she's 8 months. Think
Yeah,
about
I
it.
remember everything at 8 months, dude.
No, think about
I
it.
remember that shit.
Think about it this way. Gabber's take on letting a baby cry is that whole thing is based around sleep training.
Yeah, right.
So it's like, and in sleep training, if you do the most like aggressive style of sleep training, which is basically put your baby in their crib, leave the room, don't go back in until tomorrow morning, no matter what. That's like the most aggressive style. Like, don't go in and comfort them at all. Don't pick them up. Don't do anything. If they cry, let them cry. Let them cry all night.
That's what your dad did to you.
Probably
And for people who don't know what sleep training is, it's basically training your kid
to just
to
go
sleep through the night.
to sleep on their own.
And
Yeah.
I mean, this is fascinating because you can see the difference like right here. So like your dad did that to you. Your mom didn't do that to you. You are so empathetic. Taylor couldn't give a shit if someone got hit by a car.
No, I'm
in
becoming
front
more empathetic by the
and
day
got
with my
cru-
child.
Well, yeah, I mean a little bit.
Learned, yeah,
Like
Well, I mean, fuck, it's a skill.
intellectual empathy.
So
if Donut had a seizure and died right
No.
here, Taylor would be like, "Ooh,
tough.
that's tough luck, bud."
It's gonna hurt you
No,
for a while.
so that's the most aggressive style of sleep training, and that is supposed to, your child is supposed to, in that way, they're supposed to learn to go to sleep on their own within like 4 nights. So that's 4 nights of that.
Mm,
This is
6 weeks.
4 to 6 weeks, every 6 hours, making Zaya bawl her eyes out.
So don't do it.
I know, but then I'm like, fuck. You know what I mean? It's
4%,
dude,
2%. Like fuck it.
I know.
Yeah.
But it's also
the,
double.
But the 4% and 2%, I can't find the studies that say that.
Where
I
did
don't know
you hear this from?
different websites
Quora,
of different
Quora.com.
Mommy blogs.
No, not mommy blogs. Different like clinics around the world that have information about like medical clinics around the world that have different perspectives on what to
Right.
on like how to care for the mouth like after you have this procedure done.
Right.
And fuck, dude. Anyway,
There's got to be a technique though that isn't like sticking your fingers in her mouth and rubbing. Like, can you like? Because I'm
Give her a
imagining.
lollipop.
honestly, you might be right, Bri, because this is typically done on babies that are like 3 months old, and 3-month-old babies, like, they don't do anything. Whereas Zaya's like moving around, she's moving her tongue, she's talking, like she moves her mouth, she eats food, she moves her mouth way more than the 3-month-old baby is. So I'm like, is not her just being herself, moving her mouth and her lips?
Dude,
Yeah.
get some like apple juice. You know, some of the organic shit that Kyler would be like
Super on board with,
super
yeah.
good, be like on board with. And then make freezies, make little freezy pops out of them.
Yeah.
And then just like let her suck on that.
Yeah, or take that and rub it on the spot, like kind of go out of your way to like push on the spots where I'm
You
being serious.
You cannot even do it. You cannot even put now.
I'm being serious too.
Now
Yeah.
that she knows, if I start to go near there, she's like, dude, she'll start to bite down on my fingers. And dude, it's
Fucking
wow,
dude, stop
wow.
doing it.
I know.
Well, honestly.
I know. Yeah, I think you're right.
Be a good dad.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of my helper, so when I had that helper for years, I thought I had the helper because I couldn't read well. I read fine. The reason I had the helper was because I was so hyperactive.
You were a distraction to the rest of the class.
Yes, and so I asked my mom about this because all
Dude,
this
because you have ADHD.
Well, so all this ADHD talk with you, Brian, I've been going, maybe I'm in that boat because like there's a bunch of stuff that I've seen as of late that I didn't
Did you
know.
have your appointment with the guy?
Well, I didn't know about it. I didn't know. I thought ADHD was just like hyperactivity. You know, I didn't know shit about ADHD until we started doing this podcast and exploring ADHD. When you started exploring it big time, that's when I started going, oh, fuck. Like a lot of the stuff I'm hearing you say relates to how I feel. And so I asked my mom, I was like, hey, Mom, when I was growing up, like, did you ever have teachers say to you that they speculated that I might have ADHD? And my mom was like, oh, yeah. And I was like, oh yeah? And she was like, oh, yeah. Like, I'd say probably all of them. In elementary school, pretty much every one of them said that to me. And I was like, and did they recommend you get me checked out? And they were like, oh, yeah. And I was like, and did you? And she goes, no. And I go, why the fuck? And she goes, well, I don't know, you know, you're a child. You were just an energetic child. You grow out of it. And I was like, okay, well.
Did I?
I
don't know.
I don't think I did. So I went in to see my family doctor yesterday, and I got booked in to be consulted at the ADHD clinic over in
Fuck yeah.
Dartmouth.
Is your family doctor a family doctor, or is it someone through the CF clinic?
No, it's
or?
my family doctor.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm getting referred, and I'll be going on that journey. I'm sure we'll talk about it once that comes up. Anyway, here's another really interesting story. Taylor, you flagged this, and I mean, not a surprise, but also super, super fascinating. Organ donations rise around motorcycle rallies. So a new study suggests a link between the large gatherings and a slightly higher number of transplants after traffic crashes.
That's so fucking interesting.
So
eh?
crazy. So this summer, when 500,000 bikers clogged the streets of tiny Sturgis, South Dakota, for one of the country's largest motorcycle rallies, there might have been a small, unexpected benefit for nearby patients desperately awaiting organ transplant.
What do you think rises around the gathering of the juggalos?
Well, guarantee a lot of those folks probably aren't opted in, so it's probably poor.
Juggalos are great.
Hey, I love the Juggalo community.
You're very pro juggalo.
They're a very
I'm
loving,
not a big ICP fan. but
Yeah.
I love watching juggalos do their thing.
First CD I ever owned was Insane Cloud
I,
Boston.
Was it really?
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember.
So this summer, when 500,000 bikers, major motorcycle rallies are associated with increases in organ donors involved in motorcycle crashes, according to a study published in JAMA, Internal Medicine.
Wait, can I just clarify this? So there's a large motorcycle rally, and then there are accidents, and
Yes.
then they donate their organs are donated to people locally.
Say you're like,
Right,
I'm waiting for a liver, and I need a liver stat.
Move
and-
to fucking South Dakota.
Oh yeah, and they're like, well, the motorcycle rally's coming up. You're like, oh, yes, dude, the motorcycle rally. This is
Yeah.
my fucking ticket. The authors theorize this could be because the numbers of motorcyclists attracted to the rallies, dangerously congested roads designed for fireless traffic, or riskier behaviors such as riding while fatigued. Although they were careful to emphasize that policymakers should focus on reducing traffic deaths, the researchers wrote that they should also, quote, anticipate and translate eligible deaths from these events into organ donations. The lead author, Dr. David Cron, who is a surgery resident at Massachusetts General Hospital, said he got the idea for a study when a colleague described working at another facility near a major rally in New Hampshire. They said, quote, they used to gear up for these events and increase staff in the emergency department and plan for an influx of motor vehicle related trauma.
Whoa.
So they're like, the rally's coming. We got to up this. Like they're prepping like as if a plane just crashed in the city.
whoa.
Like they're going, we got to up the staff. We got to be like ready because we're just going to have a bunch of fucking people coming in dying. Previous research has linked such rallies to increases in crashes and fatalities, but the new study found there were 21% more organ donors during these rallies than in the surrounding time periods, amounting to one additional donor for every 2 major motorcycle rallies. So here's a stat. Over 105,000 people are on a national waiting list for an organ transplant, and 17 die each day.
Whoa.
Although
Wow.
over 90% of people have voiced support for organ donation in the U.S.,
How many? Sorry.
90% have voiced support for organ donation. Only half the population has registered to be an organ donor.
Dude, simple
Opt
solution. Opt out.
That's it. I mean, like Nova Scotia took on the opt-out program, and I think it's a fucking amazing idea.
And it's like the
I understand why.
simplest.
Yeah, like it seems like such an easy fix. It's just like check that box.
Not
if you
no, you
wanna-
don't even have to.
No, check that box if you don't want.
Yeah, exactly.
To.
It's
And,
like-
and 90% of people go, oh sweet, it's taken care of for me. I
It's
don't have to worry
it's
about
like, but it's also, it's just so simple because it's what's more convenient for the masses. So there's this thing that will positively impact a population. Most people feel like they want to partake in it.
Totally.
Some people don't, and that's fine. Opt out.
Yeah.
So make it, instead of making it so that all of those people have
Yeah.
to opt in.
Why make
make it
90?
so the
Why make
small-
90% of the people do something
when you can do it
when
for
you can
them.
make only 10% of the people have
Yeah.
to do something? Because it's only 10% of the people that
And
want
also
to opt out anyway.
the amount of money that would save just in like paperwork.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
The other option, the alternative option here, which I think is probably the easier option,
I know what you're going to say.
is if you are one of those 105,000 people waiting for an organ transplant.
Host
Go
a
to the
motorcycle
rally.
If
rally.
you don't
that's right.
drive a motorcycle, fucking get interested. You don't even have to start driving one. Just
No,
get
'cause
interested.
That's gonna
And then-
that's gonna up your
Yeah,
That's gonna,
yeah,
You're
yeah.
gonna become the donor.
But get interested, and then that interest shows that you are someone who can rally a bunch of people to come together and bring a rally to your town.
Right.
You should honestly, that's what we should be doing now, is advocating for more motorcycle rallies.
Yeah,
Right. And I'm not
It's as
saying that.
simple
I'm
as
not
that.
saying
which is
that.
kind of fucked up because you're basically saying we're hoping a bunch of deaths.
We're not hoping for that.
No.
Well, you got two options. It's hope for the deaths
And you know what?
or change the fucking opt.
I used to
Yeah.
drive a motorcycle. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
There you go. And
You look like you drive a motorcycle.
do I?
Yeah.
I got a motorcycle look.
Yeah, you
That's
do.
a high praise. I think,
Could be.
depending on the.
I don't know. I don't
context.
see it.
No.
No, yeah, not enough leather vests, not enough patches,
Right.
Not the
not
clothing.
enough, not enough goatee.
Not the
Like,
clothing. I just mean like your general makeup.
Right.
You
Okay.
look like a motorcycle.
You do look like a guy. You do look like a parent that would motorcycle with his baby on the front.
Right. I mean, I've been to Southeast Asia a lot. They do that. It seems very safe.
My uncle died in a motorcycle accident. I wonder if he donated.
Well,
any
that was
organs.
probably before the opt out.
Long before.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like 30 years ago.
Yeah, I doubt it. All right, let's go on to what the hell. This one's for you, Bri. I've got a top 8 list.
Fuck yeah.
Top 8.
Top 8 what?
Why?
It was top 10, but there's 2 in there that I hated, so I just took them out.
Okay.
The top 8. What was this? I forget what it is. Top 8.
Wait. If I'm going to use this for TikTok, you really got to be like, the top 8, whatever.
All right, here we go. Top 8 weird medical practices that don't exist anymore. All right. So number 8.
Wait. No,
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
you can't.
Number 8. Smoke enemas? Ouchie.
What?
Tobacco smoke enemas were considered a successful treatment for cholera
What? Oh, crazy.
and were recommended as an alternative remedy to opium. The exact
this is
procedure
a long
varied,
while ago.
but these are all a long time ago. The exact procedure varied, and in some instances, a pint of boiling tobacco-infused water was administered into the intestines.
Oh, what?
And it was even reported that hundreds of lives might have been spared by the tobacco enema.
You must mean boiled, like it had been boiled.
No,
not
no.
boiling water.
Boiling. It says boiling.
No.
We're going with boiling.
Whoa.
All right. Number 7.
Wait.
Number 7. Whale Hotel.
Whale Hotel?
What?
This article from 1899 reports on a hotel in Australia where you could go for rheumatoid arthritis. In this treatment, whenever a nearby whale died, patients would be rowed to the whale. Then the whale would be cut up and a narrow hole made into the body. The patient would then lay down in the carcass for up to 2 hours. This process allegedly relieved soreness and inflammation. And this may be the best part here. The treatment was reported to be discovered by a drunken man who is staggering along the beach near a whaling station at Twofold Bay, and who, seeing a dead whale cut open, took a header into the decomposing blubber.
Oh,
Whoa, that's nasty.
Drunk dude's just like,
guys-
I want to fucking get in that.
yeah.
The whaling industry.
No,
Darn.
no, darn.
The whaling industry in like the early 1900s was so fucking crazy. Did you know that
Good money, I bet.
the amount of it
yeah.
was
Probably a lot of whales back then too.
a hard life. Yeah, there was a
A
lot
lot more
more
whales than today.
Yeah.
But did you know that the street lamps that were in London, England,
Yes.
5,000
Yes.
lamps in the early 1900s were all lit by whale oil.
Whale oil, yeah.
And so they had to like they were
Dude,
replacing them
what do you think
every day.
that smelled like?
Well, good question.
Yeah.
I bet you it smelled like a fucking hot wharf. I bet you that smelled
Oh,
like the
dude, don't say hot.
whole
wharf.
town just smelled like BV.
We watched when
Hey, what's BV?
Bacterial vaginosis. It's a
Oh, yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
unfortunate.
We talked about it. Yeah.
It's very,
when
very, very tricky thing to take care of.
we
There's not much you can do. You get bacterial vaginosis. They're like, sorry, you're just gonna have like really, really
Sucks.
odory pee
Sex.
for a while, and you got to let it just take care of itself.
when I went to Antarctica and I was on the boat, they did these lectures, and one of the guys, his dad or his grandfather was Robert Falcon Scott, the first British guy to go to the South Pole,
Super familiar.
and he played a video of like actual footage of the whaling process.
Oh no!
Of them harpooning the whales,
Oh,
pulling
no.
them on ship, and like the whole process of like skinning it, cutting it up, like
Jesus.
grinding up the bone. It was
Wow, that's crazy.
That's
fucking
sad.
nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really nasty.
All right, number 6, xenotransplantation.
Oh, this is like pig organs and stuff. Or monkey.
Well, yes and no. This is a very specific type of xenotransplantation. This procedure involved the transplantation of the interstitial gland from a chimpanzee into an 80-year-old man in hopes of returning to him his physical vigor. So the interstitial gland is a gland that basically helps produce your testosterone, and it's located down by your junk. This gland being vital to the male organism, it was naturally impossible to transfer from man to man. This led me to go to the nearest species of monkeys, which has been used so successfully in thyroid experiments. Later on, this entire procedure was debunked. That was Dr. Sergei Voronov, who was the inventor of the xenotransplant.
I see the reason. I
4D.
see like the logical reasoning
Yeah.
for thinking that would.
So it's basically monkey balls.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Yep. On an
Crazy.
80-year-old man.
Oh, it's actually in the.
I mean, it's not in the testicles, but it's like
Near.
down in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Down. Yeah. Right. yeah,
Number
down in
5, cocaine for hay fever. Many believe that allergy symptoms caused by pollen, also known as hay fever, could be alleviated with the application of coke, as described in this article here. This was discovered to not be the case. Dr. George Frederick Laidlaw, a recognized leading pathologist of the homeopathic school in New York, is quoted in multiple articles saying, if you can't cure it without cocaine, you better keep the hay fever.
I thought now are you changing your stance on homeopathy?
After reading that, 100%.
Like you're into it now.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Number 4, chloroform?
Dude, I think you need to. This is a progressive list,
yeah.
and I think you need to. Number 4, like
Number 4? Chloroform?
We share an
That was
office.
better.
We share this office space.
we're recording a podcast. It's fine.
There's a therapist right next to us, and there's a person in the fucking waiting room just hearing some dude scream, "Whale Hotel!"
Am I going to be chloroformed?
Jesus Christ. Another treatment that was believed to be a cure for asthma was chloroform.
Wait, what is chloroform actually for?
Chloroform is you ever watch a movie where they're like, go to sleep, go to sleep?
No, that's what I mean. I know what it's used for in pop culture. I'm wondering what its actual use is.
Chloroform is, I think it's a what do you call
An
it?
anesthetic?
Anesthetic, yeah. Let's look it up. Chloroform is a colorless liquid that quickly evaporates into gas. It can harm the eyes, skin, liver, kidneys, and nervous system. Chloroform can be toxic if inhaled or swallowed. Okay, maybe not. I think it's just bad. It just causes cancer.
just bad.
Yeah, it's just a bad thing. What is the main use of chloroform? Chloroform is majorly used for the manufacturing.
movies.
Holy shit, dude! Chloroform is majorly used for the manufacturing of Freon refrigerant. The
that's not
application of
good.
R22 as refrigerants has been phased out in development countries due to global warming, but it continues to be high demand in developing countries owing to its easily availability and
I
manufacturing.
think Freon was the shit was a bunch of the shit in the 80s that started fucking up the ozone layer.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah. It is. Can't you make chloroform with like, or is it mustard gas? That's like actually like
Mustard
you mix
gas-
mustard with chlorine or something.
No.
and
Mustard gas is your piss. You can make mustard gas with your pee and ammonia.
Okay.
So if you bleach your hair blonde again, Bri.
Isn't there ammonia in your pee?
Sorry, when you I think it's when you mix ammonia and bleach. That's it. So
So if you pee in the toilet or like pour some bleach in to like clean your toilet bowl and then pee into it.
and then take a big old whiff, you could die.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, you might
Did we-
have to like
did we talk?
really.
No, we talked
pee
about
in
this on the
that for a
podcast. I'm
while.
pretty sure.
I felt like I remember this
yeah.
from somewhere.
Yeah, it's
Vaguely.
like they had this thing where they're like, don't like don't piss in the shower after you've rinsed the bleach out of your hair.
Do you guys think that if I Google homemade mustard gas that somebody will show up at my house?
No, dude.
No,
Just look up
no.
the anarchist cookbook.
You-
They teach you how to make napalm in that. It's
You'd
very
probably
simple,
need
very
that-
easy.
you'd probably need a lot.
That is mustard gas. So
Yeah, mustard gas. That's what I thought.
phosgene gas, also known as mustard gas, is actually a byproduct of bleach when combined with ammonia.
Yeah. So if you pee on bleach,
You'd have to
You're-
have a real dehydrated pee and probably a decent amount.
dude, me every morning.
Yeah. But you'd probably need to be dehydrated. You'd have to have more than just your morning pee, but maybe not.
The mortality rate from mustard
no,
gas.
there's no way. It's easy.
The mortality rate from mustard gas was only 2 to 3%.
That's
well,
not-
I mean,
That was gas in the Great War. That's out of context.
oh really? Because
Whatever I'm
like
reading
I
it
just
from.
watched All Quiet on the Western Front, and there was a
dude, I thought mustard
warehouse
gas was,
full of bodies from that gas.
that's right. And that was in a movie, so you know it's true.
That's right. All right, chloroform. So asthma. They believe that this would eventually result. They thought it would relieve all symptoms of asthma. It kills you.
It did
this-
relieve
this-
all symptoms.
This belief would
Forever.
eventually result in the deaths of patients who had overdosed during an asthma
Oh
attack.
my god.
Number 3, soothing syrup. What do you think this is?
Scissor.
What
Cough,
is scissor?
Buddy,
Cough syrup
I
and
feel like this is scissor.
Yeah. And,
cough syrup and like
Patron or something.
Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup was a popular remedy for babies experiencing anything from teething to diarrhea. So what were the secret ingredients in these 25-cent cure-alls? According to an article from back in the day, a heavy percentage of alcohol and morphine is the answer.
Oh,
Later on, this soothing syrup, along with others, was condemned. They are given the label baby killers, and an article advises that if you value your child's life and health, never use any of these preparations. So,
dude, isn't science and fucking scientific studies amazing?
yeah, well,
Trials,
that leads me
clinical
to
trials.
Yeah, that's going to lead me to what I wanted to talk about after this. Cigarettes. Number 2, cigarettes. Here's an advertisement promoting cigarettes as a cure for asthma. It's common knowledge now that they do the opposite and can cause asthma flare-ups. What's interesting about this treatment is that it was already known that cigarettes had undesirable effects. Dr. W.A. Evans reported that in an experiment conducted by researchers...
Dr. W.A. Marlboro.
The subjects became breathless on exertion. Some have pains around the heart, some have palpation, and others suffer from swimming in the head. Not sure what that is.
It's probably a head rush.
And this is my favorite one. Number 1, milk transfusions.
I love the way that
insane.
you say milk.
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 In the late 19th century, milk was believed to be the perfect substitute for blood. And the fatty, oily qualities would become white blood cells. However,
Oh, wow.
while a few instances of this procedure were successful, many resulted in death.
Dude, you know what's so funny about this is
How
doctors
dumb
used
it
to be
sounds?
like us. You know, doctors used to be like us
Dude,
going,
no
well,
way.
couldn't you just do it like this?
Doctors
Hey,
used to be way different
White
than
blood
us.
cells? Why don't you just put something in that's white?
Doctors were like us when we're like, can't you just
Try
fix it
this.
by doing this
Yeah,
thing?
yeah.
And then they would do it
Yeah.
and it would
On
kill
people.
people.
The doctors' bone
Without
saws,
testing it, extensively.
dude.
Right.
Bone saws were just like, I don't know, man. That looks bad. I'm going to cut it off. And they're like, wait, don't. And he's like, sorry, you came to me.
This is what I
Bite
do.
down on this while I put some milk into your fucking veins and chop off your knee. In one instance, the injection of milk dropped the patient's pulse immediately to the point where they had to be resuscitated with a combination of morphine and whiskey, some of that syrup. And the patient only lived 10 days after the operation. So,
Oh my
so
god.
milk transfusions don't work. But here's the thing that I want to like kind of cap this off with. These are all like, 19th century, late 19th century bullshit fucking things that we just didn't know anything about anything.
Bro science.
But like, I feel like today in 2020, like yesterday, I had a conversation on Termion with an OBGYN in the US who does a lot of work to spread awareness surrounding female genital mutilation. So if you're not familiar with female genital mutilation, in some cultures, some religions, it's considered like a necessity. And what they do is they literally clip off the glands of the clitoris. So they like the nub of the clit, they just go and they just cut it off. Now, the argument from the cultures that are doing this practice, that is fucking, I don't give a shit what you think about religious practices or culture. This is just bad. They say, well, it's a female circumcision. It's not. A circumcision is when you cut off the foreskin of the penis.
Yeah, not cut the head of the dick off.
That is what
Yeah.
female
Yeah.
genital mutilation is. You're cutting off. It would be cutting your head in half. Is essentially what we're doing, and they're doing this to like 5-year-old girls, right? They do a thing where a family will live in the U.S. and they're from say they're from Egypt. They'll send their 5-year-old daughter.
It's common in like
to
East Africa, East and West Africa, right?
Yeah, some parts of Africa, Egypt as well. And so they'll send the daughter to their grandparents in their home country for summer cutting, is what they call it.
Oh, fuck.
And so this surgeon basically tries to do reconstructive surgery to help bring back some sort of sensation. I think we covered on the podcast last week
That's
that,
interesting.
or a couple of weeks ago, the clitoris is
Has like
the only
10,000
organ in the body
nerve
that
endings.
is purely its pure function is just pleasure.
Mhm.
10,000 nerve fibers. We just found out. So like, 2022, that shit's still happening, right? That's crazy. That's craziness. Shouldn't be happening.
Could be on that list.
It
Like,
could. I mean, yeah. So what are the things that are going to be on this list in like 150?
But that's happening.
150
That's
years.
happening in. I'm not going to say not exclusively, but it's happening in places where. It's happening in places where like the the entire population hasn't advanced at the same rate as like
multiple
as other
doctors in the
places.
U.S. got nabbed for doing it 2 years ago.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. And
Holy fuck.
basically arrested and fucking put to jail.
Whoa, that's nuts.
So like it's again, this is like this. There's a huge sort of cultural battle here where you've got this side that it's steeped in their culture and they believe that this is like valuable and important, which is fucking crazy. You've got the people on the other side, which are like me. They're going, this is fucking crazy. And then you've got the people in the middle who don't really understand enough about it that go, well, I mean, it's religious. It's a cultural thing.
That's
like,
so fucked.
which is like, well,
In my opinion.
sure, but like look into it. Look into how like this, it's barbaric. So anyway, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. More so, I want to think of like, there's got to be things that we're doing, and not like that extreme, right? Like that's on the extreme end of things. But like, what are some of the like chemo, for example, right? Like we're
Right.
giving chemo to patients to cure their cancer. We're poisoning patients in order to take care of their cancer. Like in 100 years, are we going to look back and go, man, it's fucking crazy that they were giving people
For
high
sure.
doses of chemo?
I think the difference. I think you're right. I think that could be a very good. That could be a perfect example of it because there might be such effective treatments for cancer, such as vaccines that mRNA vaccines that you get when you get cancer and your cancer goes away. That could be a thing. But I think the difference will be that they're at least in the things that we're doing now, in like not the barbaric, that kind of stuff, but stuff that
mutilation
stuff that we're just blind to because we don't know what we don't know. Is that there is scientific method still behind what we're doing? Like it has an efficacy,
right? Whereas like
it's just
milk
that the efficacy isn't
transfusions,
nearly as much.
milk transfusions was just like, that's white, it's thick, it's probably going to turn into white blood cells,
right? It just like
it's gotta.
It just like makes no sense. Whereas what we're doing now, we will just find a method in the future that is so far superior to what we're doing.
It's like
now.
it's like the frenulin snipping, for example. It's like here's the best thing we know to do right now is this.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you don't want to have to stick your fingers in your daughter's mouth and traumatize her by making sure that this thing doesn't grow back. But like we don't really have a better way to do this right now. Or
even the like the sleep training or whatever you're saying, like that could be something where you look back on 100 years ago. It's
there's not even
baby crying, you just lock them in the room and just leave them all night.
There's not even science behind that.
No, there's not.
And
there's not. And that was the thing that I was. Well, Brian and I had
exactly my point.
Brian and I had this conversation the other day. Is that when I was because dude, sleep training is ubiquitous. Like if you found a person who wasn't doing sleep training, that would be hard. On some level. So like that it's like kind of ubiquitous across our culture to be doing sleep training. And when you look into it and you start to try and understand, well, where is this coming from? It really does seem to, and I'm not passing judgment on anybody who's doing this because like everybody I know with a baby has done this. And
they can't be a worse father than you.
And until speaking with Gabber, I would have thought the exact same thing. So like, my understanding of this has only changed because I get to talk to people, including one of the foremost leading thought leaders on this topic.
Yeah.
So like, and that's my.
Don't say thought leader, but yeah.
Right.
There are also though
one second. I just wanted to. I wanted to just finish that. Like the on sleep training, it's like if you look up why you should do it. Most roads just lead back to it being nice for the parent.
Yeah.
That it's like, it helps the parent. It helps the parent get more rest. It's not really talking about the benefits for the baby for the most part. And if you disagree with this and you've got information that you want to share with me, please, by all means, send it in. Letters to Sick Boy Podcast or on our socials. But then when you look into the reasons why you shouldn't do sleep training, that stuff is really backed up by evidence and scientific literature that talks to the psychological and chemical effects that leaving a baby crying for an extended period of time, if not all night, has on a child, and like the downstream effects and studies that have been conducted over years of time. Like there is scientific literature to back up why you shouldn't, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of scientific literature that backs up why you should.
Yeah.
And that's what irks me.
There are practices that we do today that, in contrast to that top 8 list, are like modern day. We do the thing the wrong way, and before we did it better. Like I think of like potty training kids. Like the invention of the diaper. Like they just piss and shit in their
Great
diaper.
Idea. Awesome invention.
But there are practices from like thousands of years ago where obviously they didn't have diapers, where they just trained the baby by holding them over a pot.
Yeah, but we don't have time for that. We got to make money.
Right.
So this is like, let your baby shit, clean it up when you have the time.
Like elimination communication. Like that. I mean, do you think that there's a possibility? And like, obviously this is, I don't think that pissing and shitting in a diaper has a really negative effect on a kid if you're cleaning their diaper frequently. But like, do you think them shitting in their diaper is bad for them on some level?
Is it bad for me?
I don't necessarily think it's bad for them.
Like I piss and shit in my diaper,
but that's your choice.
I don't necessarily think it's bad for them, but I think that you are making the argument that you could make is that it could be better for them.
Right. Yeah. Interesting.
Because I did elimination communication for a while, and I know that you were joking, but the reason that
you don't have time for
the reason that we stopped doing it was because I had to start working again, and Kylo was just like, it's so
disgusting.
It's so all consuming
to
be
paying that much attention to
like every 10 minutes basically when your baby is new, like they're peeing and pooping all the time. Well, mostly peeing, but like all the time. Something's happening all the time. So it was just too much. And I probably would have committed more to it, but I
wouldn't have peed so much if you guys cut back on liquids.
Right. If we just didn't feed her as much.
That's what I do with my dog. Yeah. He only pees like once a day. Just don't give him water.
Restrict water.
Yeah. I give Donut like an ounce of water once every 7 to 8 hours.
Yeah. I learned that from you actually.
Yeah.
Folks, well, hope you enjoyed this week's episode. A little bit more feel good than last week. Listen, at CBC Podcast, go follow them on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Lots of good content coming out from our pals over at CBC. Lots of great podcasts to listen to. So you can check them out on social media and listen to CBC Podcasts on the CBC Podcast Listen app. Or I think it's called that. And if you want to support this podcast further, well, come on over to the Discord, first of all. You can find the link in the show notes of this episode and most of the episodes before. And we have lots of channels popping off over there. It's probably, we have like over 400 people on our Discord channel. And I would guess that we probably have a Discord channel that has the most old people compared to, and when I say old people, I mean my age. Because like Discord's a young folks game. And we got the we've got the most mature Discord audience. Like just so geriatric Discord going on over there. Everybody's over the age of 25. It's fucking dope. So if you want to feel like you're going to one of those cool nightclubs where you're not allowed in unless you're 25 and super attractive, come on over to our Discord because everybody there is probably over 25 and they're all hot as shit.
Are there 25 plus clubs?
Oh yeah, dude.
In Halifax?
I believe hide and seek might be one.
Interesting. Is hide and seek the one that's used to be taboo?
Yeah. yeah. Did I tell you the story when I went there? Dude walked up and he was like, he'll pay you in roses.
That's right. Yeah,
anyway, so come to our Discord. And if you want to support the podcast further, you can leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, or you can leave a review on the Spotify mobile app. We'd love that.
On God.
On God. Yeah, dude, bussin'. And for my own selfish reasons, but also just because I'm super fucking curious, sleep training. What do you know about it? I'm looking for a sleep training and the frenulum.
This is very quickly turning into a mommy, like a mommy podcast. We should change. No. Change our category to mom podcast.
Taylor wants a mom blog.
Because what I'm looking for doctors, nurses, dentists,
and mommies
to reach out and tell me. And you know what I don't want? I don't want anecdotal shit. I want you to say this is research. This is clinical studies that have been done that point to, I don't care what it points to. I just want it to point somewhere so that I can educate myself.
What he means by research is he wants you to show for reference your Instagram account. And if it doesn't have an aesthetic to it, then we don't want to hear from you.
I want PubMed. Okay. Give me PubMed. Letters at sickboypodcast.com. And if you want to be a guest on the show to talk about either of those topics or any other topic, sickboypodcast.com/contact.
We love you all, and we really love Jeff Lonis, who's our manager, and Rich O'Coin. Thanks for the theme music. That's all I got.
That is it for this week.
I'm Brian.
I'm Taylor.
And I'm Jeremy, and this is Sick Boy.